at, this critical conference that's going to happen, Gastech, in Italy in 2022, just a few months away, all of the gathering there, we're going to have policymakers, we're going to have the CEOs, we're going to have the key experts who are here, we're going to have the leading technologists. What's your big message? I mean, you've given it some of us without a doubt, but they're here for the short term, if not medium term, without a doubt, and they're changing in terms of being energy companies. But what's the great message that you want to deliver to them at Gastech this year?
Well, first, Eithne, let's see the context, because as you have given part of the context, but the other context is the one that we're living right now. 100 million US citizens under heat alerts, more than anything we've ever seen in the United States. The United Kingdom, Spain, Italy, France, Portugal, beating all record heat levels ever in history. Uncontrollable fires across Europe. China, beating all heat records. This has been a summer of lethal temperatures. Thousands of people have died. No one can safely work outside anymore during the day in the areas of this heat. So not only, Eithne, have we actually broken all heat records in these three regions, we're breaking the heat regions, the heat temperatures in 3 continents at the same time. We have 3 continents burning and scorching at the same time. Never in the history of mankind, ever. And that on top of completely crazy cost of living prices because of the current price of gas, setting millions of people back into absolute abject poverty. So there is no doubt for me that this has got to be a dramatic, not even a gradual, this has got to be a dramatic turn of events for the oil and gas companies. And you ask me, what should they do differently? Let me first start with the gorilla in the room. Stop lobbying governments on climate action. I am sorry, but that can no longer occur. We are seeing the effects of that in the United States quite clearly, being reported every day on the media. That cannot be. That can simply not be anymore. So number one, stop lobbying governments. And number two, focus the entire engineering, technology, financial, innovation capacity that is inherent in the oil and gas industry, not comparable to any other industry, more than anyone else. But that has got to be focused on accelerating the energy transition.
Do you not think they're doing enough? Do you not think they're doing it fast enough? Because we listen to the narrative and it has changed so much. And we look, I think, at the personal commitments for many of the CEOs. They're out there, they're loud, and they're proud about what they're doing. They're keeping energy sources going at the moment, but they're looking to the long term. Do you think they just need to pay more attention and to actually speed it up?
Yes, I think they need to move more CapEx over to the renewable energy solutions. They're currently putting what I would say minimal CapEx into renewable energy, and that's not enough. And what I don't understand is that these CEOs understand that the transition has to occur, that it's necessary, that it's urgent, and furthermore, that it's good for their industry in the long term. They understand that. What I'm not seeing is then the capital expenditure decisions that are actually in coherence with that understanding, because there still is completely insufficient in investment into the alternative energies. And I understand that a gas field dies if you don't keep it up and if you don't replace it. I understand that. The 6%, I totally understand. And that cannot be the reason to not put substantially much more CapEx into renewable energies, because they know. I don't need to tell them. The scientists have been screaming from the rooftops. Scientists don't need to tell them. The CEOs know that this is the case. So I would like to see more coherence between what they know and what they understand and the decisions that they're taking.
And it's something we'll definitely challenge them at when we come to Gastech. Again, when we look at the, the breaking news and the headline news in terms of what's been happening here, I think this week particularly, in the middle of close to the end of July, has really brought it home to so many people. Do you think this is now going to really galvanize more support for an acceleration for the energy transition, and also perhaps put more pressure on governments to really, make sure that they have more, I suppose, definitive measures in place to make sure that we don't see a rising, global temperature, that we actually have to do probably more than we already had pledged?
I think governments are aware of this, and we all know what the geopolitics is right now. But Eithne, here is the uncomfortable truth. Geopolitics can no longer be used as the excuse for continuing to stoke the climate emergency. Governments are sitting between two chairs because they know that their number one responsibility is to protect their citizens. They know that. That is it. That has always been the case. Government's number one responsibility is to protect their citizens. And if we have ever seen a threat, a direct threat to the life of citizens, it is these summer heats and the fires that have come with them. So they totally understand that. And also, Eithne, they are being lobbied by the fossil fuel industry. And very powerfully. So they're sitting between those two chairs. Yes, governments need to get their act together, but in order to enable them to get their act together, the fossil fuel industry needs to stop lobbying them to the contrary and actually align yourselves. The fossil fuel industry can align itself with societal needs, with societal desperate cries that we have heard this summer. This is a huge opportunity. I'm actually, why does the oil and gas industry not understand that this is a huge opportunity? Just like the oil and gas industry and the coal, but I don't think that there's a future for coal. But the oil and gas industry was hugely important in the development of industrialized countries and of well-being in the global north last century. Those same companies, if they change their business model, if they get on to what we need this century, they can play an equal and in fact even an outsized role in being the power behind economic development in both the global north and the global south. There is a huge opportunity, but it is not going to be harvested if we simply stay anchored into the technologies, the products, and the services of the past. We've got to pull that anchor up and move into the 21st century.
And I think that's definitely the narrative we're going to be hearing at Gastech, without a doubt. I mean, that narrative, it's been shifting over the years. That energy transition, all of what has been happening, I think what has been so clear to everybody will heighten that discussion, I think, without a doubt. Now, we're going to be in Italy in September. The Italian government has committed to reduce emissions by 60% in 2030. Is that good enough? Is that as good as they can do? Or do we really now, have we seen we all need to do more and we need to do it faster?
Yes, we all need to do more and we do it faster. Thank you, Eithne. That's exactly what we all need to do. Now, let's remember that Italy is part of the European Union and that the European Union has taken on the goal of achieving climate neutrality by 2050, but of being at least at a 55% cut by 2030. So that tells you what is the difference between the national target that Italy still has and what the European Union is striving for. And every European country is going to have to align itself there, especially after this absolutely brutal summer, lethal summer that they've had. If any region can put pressure, public pressure on their governments, it's Europe. So I have no doubt that once the fires are out and once the heat begins to subside, there is going to be even more public pressure in Europe for every country to be, as the European Union and as the European Green Deal has stipulated, at least at 55% by 2030.
Now, over the years, I've worked on Gastech many years, but I've never been, more excited, I suppose is not the word, but it's a fascinating time. It's a critical time that is coming. I think this year, September, it's one of like the biggest gatherings in the world where we will actually have this great opportunity to have everybody on board. I mean, it's a hugely important meeting. How important would you say it is? And if there was something to come out of this, if there were resolutions, if there were agreements, again, what would you want it to be?